everybody and welcome back. If you are heading out on an airplane anytime soon and you are looking for some travel tips for flying on the airplane, or you just like watching videos like this, these are my 10 best tips for first-time flyers. I am Kat and I am so happy that you're joining us today. Starting off with tip number 1. And that is to pack headphones that either have a headphone jack, or if you have Bluetooth headphones, to make sure you bring a dongle so that you can connect to the TV that is on the airplane. Now, if you're not interested in connecting to the TV that's on the airplane, don't really worry about this tip and instead download whatever you need to your phone. But if you are hoping to watch TV or movies on the airplane and connect to the airplane TV, make sure you have headphones that can actually connect. This happened to me because I got a new pair of headphones for my most recent trip. They are like a Bluetooth headphone and they wrap around and then they go into my ears like this. But I wanted to watch movies on the airplane and I couldn't because I had no way to hook these up to the TV that was in front of me because these connect to Bluetooth and the TV did not have that power. So to use headphones like this, you would need to get some sort of dongle that allows you to connect to the TV through Bluetooth. Or you can pick up a cheap pair of headphones. You could buy it on the airplane, but I have these headphones that I now have and they have a headphone jack. And so this will be able to plug into the airplane TV and I'll be able to actually watch the movies and the TV shows that they have on the TV while I'm traveling. So look into getting a pair that can actually connect, or be prepared to have everything that you need downloaded to your phone so that you can watch stuff on there. Airplane tip number 2. Make sure you bring your phone charger with you onto the airplane and make sure it is somewhere that you can get it easily, aka not buried in your suitcase in the overhead bin, and that's just really hard to access in the middle of a flight. You're probably going to be using your phone while on the airplane, and so you don't want it to die, especially if you have important documents or addresses or things on your phone that you'll need either before or after your flight. So you'll want to charge your phone while on the actual airplane. And something I've noticed about the plugins on the airplanes is that most of them are a USB plugin and not a USB-C plugin. So you would need a phone charger that has an end like this in order to be able to plug directly into their chargers. Or something I've also noticed on airplanes is that you can actually connect with a block as well. So having something like either this or something like this. I've been able to plug these into the airplanes as well as the USB end directly into the airplane to charge. But when I had this charger that has this end, I actually had nowhere to plug it into. So have a couple of options when you are traveling so that you can actually plug in when you're on the airplane. First time flyer tip number 3 is to download the airline's app before your flight and make sure you sign in and have everything ready to go before you leave. So if you are signed in and have the airline's app downloaded, that means that they can send you notifications about your flight, like if your gate changes or if it's delayed or canceled or things like that. They even sometimes let you know when boarding begins, which is really handy. And a lot of the times you can also access your boarding pass through the app, but just keep in mind that you do need either data or Wi-Fi for the app to work and send you notifications and to actually access things. So if you are not going to have access to data or Wi-Fi, make sure you're not relying on the app to help you get through with the airport and all of that stuff. Tip number 4 for flying on an airplane is to check if your flight is actually serving food or not. And don't assume that just because it's a long flight that they will serve you food. I recently flew to Mexico and it was about a 6-hour flight, and I thought that we were going to get food on the airplane because normally I thought if a flight was over 4 hours, you would be served some type of meal, but that was wrong. The only food I could get was if I purchased it myself. They didn't even give us snacks like pretzels or crackers or whatever, which I've usually always received in the past. And I did come prepared with snacks, but I wasn't as prepared as I should have been because by the end of that flight, I was absolutely starving. I didn't want to buy any of the food on the flight because it didn't really appeal to me and I just wasn't as prepared as I could have been. So the only thing we got served was drinks. So I had like 2 glasses of ginger ale, but that's all that they gave us. So just double check if you are going to be served a meal or snacks or not on the airplane, and if not, be prepared with your own snacks or your own food before boarding so that you're not starving while on the airplane. Tip number 5 kind of feeds into this. If you are planning to buy food while on the airplane, make sure you have a credit card, because I have never seen them accept cash or debit or Visa debit or anything like that. You always have to pay with a credit card. So make sure you have one if you are going to be planning on purchasing food on the airplane. First time flyer tip number 6 has to do with getting through the airport and packing if you're flying carry-on only. And that is, if you are bringing liquids, make sure they are in bottles of 100 milliliters or less, and that they are in a clear plastic bag. And also, I believe you can only bring a total of 1 liter worth of liquids. So at my home airport, they give you plastic bags that you can use, and they look like this. And basically, all of your liquids have to be in bottles of less than or at 100 milliliters, and they have to fit in this one single bag. You cannot have 2 of these bags or 3 of these bags. Everything has to fit in this singular bag if you are traveling with a carry-on. And so if you are packing liquids, make sure that it is within the requirements. They're in a plastic bag similar to this. It doesn't have to be this bag, but it has to be roughly the size of this bag, I think. And make sure you keep them near the top of your bag, because when you go through security, you are going to have to, in most airports, pull out your liquids and separate them from the rest of your stuff. And so if you pack everything in your plastic bag and they are at the very bottom of your bag, you are going to be so stressed trying to find your liquids at the bottom of your bag while the security people are yelling at you and the line is so long and people behind you are trying to also get through security. So if you just have this right at the top of your carry-on bag, when you get to the front of the security line, you can just pull all your liquids out, plop it in the box, take out your laptop or whatever else they want you to do, and then you can keep moving and it will make it way less stressful. Airplane tip number 7 is to bring a reusable water bottle with you. It has to be empty when you're going through security, but after security, you can fill up your water bottle before you get on the airplane, and that way you'll have access to water while you're flying, because you can get really dehydrated while you're flying. It's nice to have your own bottle of water, and then you don't have to rely on those little tiny cups that the flight attendants bring you every so often throughout the flight. And on the topic of dehydration, also make sure you have a lip balm and a hand cream packed, because it's just so dry up there. You want to feel comfortable while you are flying. Tip number 8 is for a more comfortable airplane experience, and that is to bring fuzzy socks with you. I always bring fuzzy socks with me on flights, especially long ones, because it's just a nice extra layer of comfort that you can have while flying. And sometimes it gets really cold while you're up in the air, and if it's a long flight, it's just so nice to have a comfort item like fuzzy socks that you can put on. And so keep those easily accessible so that you can just slip them on when you're flying, and then you will be super comfortable. I'm also a little bit interested in compression socks though. So if you have any experience with compression socks, I have heard that they are good for really long flights because they will help reduce blood clots and keep blood flow moving. I'm not 100% sure though, because I've never actually worn a pair of compression socks. So if you have any experience with compression socks, please let me know, because I have I think like a 12-hour flight coming up in the summertime, and I am wondering if I should be getting compression socks for this flight, because I'm worried about my health, because I've heard you're supposed to wear them for longer flights. So please let me know if you have any experience with compression socks. But regardless, I always bring a fuzzy sock with me so that I can be extra comfortable. And if you just heard that really weird noise, that was my heat turning off. Tip number 9 for first-time flyers is to make sure that you dress in layers. And so when I'm talking about layers, I'm talking about, you can wear whatever pants you want, but make sure you are wearing a tank top at the base and you have some sort of sweater or long sleeve that you can wear over top. And I dress like that because sometimes it is so hot in the airplane that if you are wearing like a big huge sweater, you are just going to sweat to death. And so it's nice to be able to get down into a tank top if it is super hot on the airplane, but also it can be incredibly freezing on the airplane. And so it's nice to be able to then layer up and put on your sweater, or if you have a blanket, being able to do that so that you're not absolutely freezing to death either. And you can never really predict it, so being prepared for either temperature is going to make your flight the most enjoyable. And sometimes I wear two sweaters because then I can just take one off and use it as a pillow, and that's just another little hack that I do, I guess. I don't know if that's a hack. And then, like I said, having a little blanket might be beneficial as well. I am going to be looking at getting a little travel-sized compact blanket for my upcoming trip to Europe in the summertime. And so if you have any recommendations for those, please let me know. But that is also going to be another added layer of comfort for extra long flights, is having a blanket and making sure you are warm. And my very last tip for first-time flyers is to know that you don't actually have to pick your seat in advance of your flight, unless you really want to. And so the reason for this is because when you are booking your flight, it kind of seems like you have to book your seat right then and there. And usually it costs money to do this. And if you don't know that you don't actually have to do this, you could save a little bit of money. But the catch is that you will be randomly, automatically assigned a seat when you're checking in for your flight, either 24 hours before if you're checking in online, or when you go to check in at the airport. And so if you're traveling in a pair or in a group, depending on what seats are left, you might not be sitting together on the airplane, even if you booked your tickets together. The only way to guarantee that you'll be sitting beside your travel partner is to pay for the seat in advance. But if you don't really care, or you're looking to save some money, you don't actually have to reserve your seat in advance. But I just saw on TikTok yesterday that people that don't reserve their seat in advance, if they oversell the flight, and when they go to check in, if there's no more seats left, they might not be able to get on the airplane. And I think personally, I have never paid for a seat in advance, and I have always ended up sitting with my travel partner, except for one time, and I've always gotten a seat, and there's never really been an issue. So I don't know what to believe, but just know you don't have to. And if you check in right when check-in opens 24 hours before, you should be okay to get your seat beside your travel partner, but just know it is a little risky if the airplane is really filling up. So I do keep an eye on the amount of seats leading up to check-in day in case I want to just shell out the cash and pay for the seat that I actually want. And sometimes check-in actually opens 36 hours before the flight, so just double check if you are planning to check in online. Check when it actually opens, because every airline is different. And those are all of my tips for airplanes and flying for first-time flyers. If you're flying to Europe for the first time and looking to save a little bit of money, you might be interested in my previous video where I share all of my tips for traveling Europe on a budget, or you might be interested in my video where I talk about all of my travel tips for first-time travelers. But let me know if you have any airplane tips or airport tips in the comments or on Instagram, and subscribe if you are interested in seeing more videos, and like this video if you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for being here and watching this video, and I hope you have an awesome rest of your day. Bye!